So this video is going to be a slightly different format. I'm doing trying more of a podcast type thing. So I'm just going to be talking. If you like it, let me know. If you don't, let me know too. All right, let's get on with it. Hello and welcome to Winter Disco Tabletop Gaming. It's time for another completely baseless, unverified, ignoring rumors, and all that stuff. It's a speculation video for the dead and divine, but not really about what models they're going to show off. More about, are they going to show a new game? It's very possible. The reason for this is they've put up an image which has 5 different game systems: Age of Sigmar, 40k, Kill Team, Adeptus Titanicus, and Warhammer Underworlds, and then a cheeky little question mark going, what is it? The speculation is that because this is on an image with game systems, this is going to be a new game. So that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to do some completely unreliable speculation. It's going to be a lot of, well, I like these games, I want these games to come back, but we'll end on what is going to be most likely. I think it makes sense. So let's have a talk about some games that possibly could come back. We're going to go sort of in an order, I guess, of yes from no, definitely not to, yeah, probably will be. So let's start with Dreadfleet. So I never played Dreadfleet when it first came out, or another version of it was called Man of War. So basically it is ships on the high seas and you're doing ship warfare. The reason I'm mentioning this is there has been rumors, and I wasn't going to talk about rumors, but there's been rumors of undead pirates. Now we have Age of Sigmar scale models for that, so it generally won't be. But it's an interesting one. It's always been a game that Dreadfleet, I think, was okay, or Man of War was okay, and it got accepted and played a lot, but then Dreadfleet came out and it just tanked. I think this was like in the 90s, maybe early 2000s. Wow, it's a long time ago now. So that would be an interesting one to come back, particularly with the new technology, like 3D design, CAD design, and then 3D printing, and advances in injection molding. You get some really cool models. How they would fit that into the current Age of Sigmar world, it'd be all new designs and things like that. I don't think that would happen. If it did, it would be interesting if it was in the skies. So you've got Sky Dwarves, you'll have a whole bunch of other stuff as well that you could definitely do. I think that would be really interesting. We've seen Sky Warfare with, what's it called? Aeronautica, Imperialis Aeronautica. I think that's the full name. So they are showing an interest in doing those kind of very bespoke, very structured games on grids with a lot of different stats and things like that. I would prefer to see something a bit more looser, sort of on like a 4x4 table where you measure and things like that. And you can move up and down through vertical space, but it's a tough one. Like, how do you really know without having all stats and measurement things? And then, you got to ascend and descend. That's why I don't play Aeronautica. It's too much going on for my head to understand. So that would be an interesting one. And if they did go Dreadfleet Man of War, I think they would go Sky. A bit more of that Warhammer fantasy, or verging onto steampunk's sci-fi kind of thing. I think that would be interesting. But I don't think it's going to be that. Another one that's come up is, and this is one I've talked about several times on the channel because I have a very deep love for this game, it is Inquisitor. I don't think it would be this time around. I don't think it will be for a while. There is definitely a space for it. I really believe that from 40k there is that space of very crunchy, number-heavy RPG / tabletop game. And I've talked extensively. I think one of the first hobby videos I did, almost, 8 months ago now, the first video, I was talking about Inquisitor and why it was awesome and why it failed. One of the issues with Inquisitor was that it was at 54mm scale. Didn't make sense. You couldn't use the models you had. You couldn't use the terrain that you had unless you did some weird funky things. The range was very small. The game itself was halfway between role-playing game and tabletop game, so you needed a game master to play the game, which didn't really fit in with all the other Games Workshop games at the time. But it also does come from the heritage of Games Workshop, where they originally released Dungeons and Dragons books and models, and had adventures in White Dwarf in the very, very early days of White Dwarf until they went completely. We've got our own IPs now. So from a historical perspective, it makes total sense. But from the current Games Workshop, it doesn't make a lot of sense. I think you could do it. I don't see why you wouldn't do it at 28 or 32 millimeter, or whatever models, hero scale, whatever it is these days. Packs of kits, different models. What we have seen in the Advent calendar is a lot of, I guess you could say, Ecclesiarchy style models for 40k. A lot more human models, which I don't think this points to Inquisitor. I think it points to something else. It could be an expansion for Kill Team. It could be an entirely new game completely. But I definitely think there is hints for Inquisitor. I mean, and you look at the popularity of things like Inc. 28 and AOS 28, where they've taken the rule sets of Inquisitor and they still play it, but at 28 millimeter. And it is a very huge community. I do encourage you to go checking that out. Things, I think off the top of my head, a magazine called, who knows what, Iron Sleet, not Iron Fleet. Still got Dreadfleet on my mind. Iron Sleet is an online magazine that comes out every 2 months, I think. There's a few other websites around, but if you go search Iron Sleet, you'll be able to find some stuff. Very cool community that are really pushing the idea of grimdark at 28mm scale, playing Inquisitor in various different forms. So I definitely think in the future it could come back. I think it'd be really interesting. And another game that I have talked about very extensively, which we're heading that way anyway. It is inevitable. I don't think it'll be this year or 2022, possibly 2023. We'll see. Is Epic 40k or Space Marine, whichever format they go with. If they do release a game, it won't be the full Epic 40k game, which is from Titans down to individual model, like human units. I think we're going to see more of a Space Marine style game. If you recall that, go back deep into the past. Space Marine came out. It was sort of it wasn't an expansion. It was alongside Adeptus Titanicus, if I recall correctly, the original Adeptus Titanicus. And you could play as Space Marines. It was set in the Horus Heresy, so you had two Space Marine armies fighting against each other. And then there was various expansions on that to add new races, and particularly the squats. There was a freaking squat army. Oh my god, it was amazing. You have like squat trains riding around. It was brilliant. I think that's, they could go more tank warfare. It's just tanks. And then the last thing missing in that is having ground troops and some other assorted bits and pieces. I think it's inevitable that we will get Epic in its full form eventually, just not this time around. And if it is a new game, it will be just tanks. Probably not even infantry. I feel like the scale is getting smaller and smaller for it. One of the issues that might be is Adeptus Titanicus and Imperialis Aeronautica, or is it Aeronautica Imperialis? I can't remember what it is. The scale is slightly different. I think the flyers from Aeronautica are a slightly bigger scale than Adeptus Titanicus. I could be very wrong there. I need to really go have a bit more of an in-depth look at that, but we can look around that. Like, the scale is weird anyway. How can you fit 10 Space Marines in one of the tiny little rhinos? It doesn't work. So, we can ignore scale there. Finally, well, not finally, one more before we get to the one which I think it is. Battlefleet Gothic. I think it's time to come back. I think same reasons for Dreadfleet and Man of War. The technology is far better now to build these models at such an intricate scale. You can do a lot more interesting things from a design perspective. I think it'll be more like Imperial versus Chaos to start with. And if you don't know Battlefleet Gothic, go have a search. It is basically big ships, giant spaceships flying around shooting each other over like kilometers or miles of space. And sort of like scaled down and sort of abstracted out so you can actually play it. I loved it for the models, to be honest. I think it was a really cool range, very cool idea, particularly the battle barges. Oh, the Imperial ones, the very long ones with guns all over it and that front like icebreaker nose. I think it was really cool. I think it makes sense. I think it'd be like it'd be called Battlefleet Indomitus rather than Battlefleet Gothic. Could have set it in the more common, not common, but the current timeline for 40k, which opens up. So you do get chaos. You do have Tau as well because they're more recent. You can have basically every race in there. Love to see some Orc Space Hawks or just ramshackle stuff. I think that'd be pretty cool. I don't think we've seen any rumors for it, so I'm not 100% sure. But that'd be a cool one, I think, just from the model perspective. The same reason why I love Adeptus Titanicus is the models. I think the models are just amazing. Finally, this is what I think will come out. This will be Warhammer Quest. I think it will be set in Age of Sigmar. Likely, and go with this, it will be set on like the high seas. So I'm calling this Warhammer Quest High Seas. The reason for this is there are a lot of rumors going around of undead pirates. We have seen one of those models. We have also seen a a vampire hunter model shown off in some form or another. It's an odd one. So the reason for me coming to this conclusion is that, can you have a full faction of undead pirates? Does that work? I don't 100% know. Depends how much they extrapolate out. I know that you do have sea things like with the Ideneth, but that's slightly different. They can leave the ocean. Pirates generally won't leave the ocean, and they'll be on ships. So how does that work? The other reason is with the vampire hunter model, where does that fit in Age of Sigmar? It doesn't fit in an existing faction. I think there's also rumors about vampires, but I'm certain this is just talking about Warhammer Underworld and the warband that's going to come out. We have seen the other weird, ugly, fugly model with the hair being carried by Bat's vampire. Do not like that model. Where does that fit? It may fit in Age of Sigmar. How does the vampire hunter then fit then? Because you're basically releasing two factions at the same time. And where do the undead pirates fit? It's a little bit of a confusing, soupy mess, which is why I think it's all somewhat connected in some way. Probably not the vampire, but... So that's why I'm thinking it's going to be Warhammer Quest set on the high seas. You may be a group of adventurers going out on the seas and going to different islands and adventuring there and raiding island tombs and ships and things like that. That could make sense. I feel like it's about that time because we know Warhammer Quest Blackstone Fortress has finished up. The original box game was really successful. The expansions not so much. They priced people out, completely priced me out. I only ever bought the Amble one and I think one of the other ones. Can't remember all off the top of my head because I buy too much stuff. It definitely priced people out. I think they will rethink that, particularly when they just repackaged models. And like you're paying $100 for just some repackaged models and a whole bunch of rules, which is fine. Like you get a lot of time out of it. Sorry, I'm getting hiccups for some reason. Oh, you do get a lot of gameplay out of it, but at the same time, yeah, it's not good. I think the Warhammer Quest system was one of the better systems that have come out from Games Workshop Studios in a while. I played the crap out of that game, just playing solo, just setting up and playing for full days at a time. I love that game. So I'm interested to see what they will do going back to Age of Sigmar. And it seems to be that's what they will do. You had Silver Tower, Silver Fortress, whatever it's called, and then Blackstone Fortress in 40k. Makes sense to go back to Age of Sigmar. However, what if it's not the high seas? What if it is Warhammer Quest Mordheim? Okay, calm down. It's not going to be this. I just thought I would just completely speculate. Yeah, it could be. The Vampire Hunter fits perfectly in that aesthetic. It feels like it should be a Mordheim model. It's not going to happen. I just wanted to throw it out there just to get people all riled up. So there we go. I'm not going to throw any images on this one. I'm just going to keep it very simple, very plain, very quick, and get it out because we do have the Dead and Divine online preview in a couple of hours. Kind of. For me, it feels like a couple of hours. I won't be covering it live because I'll be in bed. It's 1 o'clock at that 1 o'clock in the morning for Australia, so I'm not doing it. So there we go. Tell me what you think below. Do we think it's going to be a new Warhammer Quest game? Are they going to announce Inquisitor? Are they going to start throwing out some more epic stuff? Some Battlefleet Gothic or Dreadfleet? It's not going to be Dreadfleet. I just wanted to talk about Dreadfleet. So, yeah, let me know below. If you like this kind of format of me just talking without any images, let me know. And we can continue doing that because they're a lot quicker to make. And I can just like stream of consciousness talk. But that's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video, which will be the Dead and Divine reveal. Ooh, spooky. See ya.